93, 93, 93. This is the one Asha Renew from AshaRenew.com. Today I'm going to speak on update your spiritual firmware. Now, I'm not going to make this too long. I probably only have about 20% battery. I planned on going live a little bit earlier, but I wanted to think a little deeper on this concept and give a little bit more insight. Okay? So, the premise of this is there is no longer a need to base your spirituality or your spiritual system in the Middle Ages. This is what I mean. Most of the people, have a path in which they feel comfortable walking down. So, for example, a person may be into white magic, right? Or maybe even gray magic, but they stay away from the black magic, right? Because that's not something that they want to dabble into at all, right? So they have their boundaries. But these boundaries are based upon old medieval ways of thinking. So, what do I mean? If, when we think about the concept of magic and the concepts of spirituality, that we automatically think about some type of spell or some type of charm or something that people would do in the 14th century or the 15th century, 1500s or 1600s, if this is what we think about when we think about anything magical or any type of charm, any type of spell, we think about something primitive. We think about something that isn't occurring anymore. We need to update our spiritual firmware because again, all spiritual work can be performed in the astral plane or the cyber plane at this point, which we don't hear much about when we study the older works of magic. Right? They're probably not mentioning the astral plane and astral dynamics and how much power that we actually have in the astral plane by having control over our dreams, our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, or our psyche, so on and so forth, right? And again, because of the invention of the internet and the invention of technology, so on and so forth, we see anybody can take their phone and tap into cyberspace, which is the window or the gateway to the world. So essentially, anyone can get on here and express their thoughts, about whatever subject matter that they feel that they need to speak upon. So for those of us who choose to speak on the spirituality of things, most of us that is speaking about spirituality is still speaking about it the way we learned it. And this is the thing. We cannot teach the way we learn. The way I learned about spirituality is not the way that I actually teach it. And this is why I'm telling everyone to update their firmware. So even though, for example, I may have learned about magic, studying spells and charms and items that I don't even have access to. Anybody who has read an older book of magic knows that they were using items that we don't even have access to in today's times. It may be materials or items that you just simply don't have access to, right? For example, there are some spells that require a human skull. If you read the older texts, right? So maybe in the 15th century or the 16th century, it may have been easier to acquire a human skull, for example. But you try to acquire a human skull in 2021 in America. I'm not going to speak for other countries, but in America, it'd probably be a little challenging just to have a human skull just laying around, right? In the 21st, I'm not talking about the 20th century, the 21st century. So, in our example, instead of us trying to look for a human skull, for example, we would do so on the astral plane or the cyber plane. So, for example, if whatever purpose or whatever reason that you would have needed a human skull in the past, for whatever power it may have, whatever result that you're trying to accomplish with that physical skull, Now we have to upgrade once again our firmware. We have to upgrade our technology to be able to have that same result, either through astral physics or astral dynamics or cybernetic consciousness or cybernetic reality, which is again just tapping into the internet, tapping into the world stage through technology, utilizing technology as your medium into what we call the spirit plane, right? In the past, we use these tools to tap into the spiritual plane. So whether it's magical herbs, whether it's skulls, whether it's the sacrifice of animals or people, so on and so forth, we did all of these things to tap into the spirit world. But again, we did not have the internet. Everything that we used to do hundreds of years ago, we don't have to do it any longer because we can tap into the internet and we have technology. Because again, in order to even use the internet, you had to have a cell phone or a cellular device, right? So you have to have a cellular device to even tap into the internet, or you have to have a laptop, so on and so forth, right? You have to have some type of technology to even tap into the internet, right? To tap into other people, places, and things, we utilize our magical devices. So people may call it cell phones or cellular devices, but they are really magical devices because of what can be accomplished, right? What can be accomplished. People can build whole spiritual communities with technology. Again, we couldn't really do that back in the day in the old times when we were doing magic. We were not thinking about building up cybernetic communities or cyber consciousness. We were not thinking about these things. All these things became possible in the 21st century. So I'm not saying any of this technology is new, like we didn't have access to the internet before, or that we did not have access to electricity, because we do know that we had access to electricity. We had our own version of the internet, but it was different than what we use today, right? So if we're talking about today, the 21st century, and our use of technology, because everybody, even children in today's times, can navigate a cell phone, can navigate an iPad or a tablet. So children can navigate, the internet in these spaces, and be able to download games and do whatever they need to do to entertain themselves. Just like adults, we are able to tap into all of these cellular devices and all of this technology to do whatever we need to do, whether physically, spiritually, mentally, or magically. So our spiritual tools are our cybernetic tools in the 21st century. So the more information and the more skillful you are with technology, the deeper you can go into your spirituality in this point or at this point. So, in the 21st century, our tool into the spirit world is technology, and we use technology as a gateway to access the spirit world. So, whether we're talking about the astral plane or again the cybernetic plane or the spiritual planes, whatever, whatever we want to call these things, all of these things are possible through technology and how we utilize technology. Again, just by me live streaming this broadcast right now is a form of magic, because I'm able to tap into other people who are wherever else they may be in the world. They can listen to me in real time. That is a form of magic. Now, just imagine if we were all doing a ritual right now. If I did a live stream, I say, okay, we're going to all do the same thing at the same time, and now we just did a collective ritual, and all I did was hit the record button or hit the live stream button with technology. So simply by hitting the button, by downloading the app, creating a profile, and hitting the button, you have access to the rest of the world, and you can have a group consciousness or a think tank simply by expressing yourself and how you think and how you feel about said subjects or whatever it is that you choose to express, right? What we need now, now that we understand technology, now that we understand the tools, now we have to update the firmware. Now that we understand the medium or the basis of magic in the 21st century is technology. So the very first thing we must do is update our firmware. So just like a cell phone, when you get that update from the company, when it's time to update your software. So when I'm talking about firmware, I'm talking about software. I'm talking about the operating system. So if we are talking about the operating system that we utilize, that we use to access the astral planes or the cybernetic planes, what we have to do is understand it's more going on than meets the eye. Yes, everyone has a cell phone in their pocket, but everyone does not know what a cell phone is. Everyone does not see their phones as a black mirror or a black crystal or a black crystal ball, right? Our phones are black mirrors, right? The more we understand our phones being black mirrors or black crystals, which is different than a clear crystal or a clear quartz. Most crystal balls are clear quartz. So if we're talking about a darkened quartz, right? The dark mirror taps you into what is called the psyche. So our psyche taps, or we can tap into our psyche via the dark mirror, and we tap into our subconscious via the white mirror, or the crystal ball, or the crystal quartz. So when we use the blackened or the darkened crystal quartz or the cell phone or the technology, that's how we're able to tap into what we call cyberspace and become more cybernetic. So what I'm asking everyone to do is become more cybernetic. And that's why I made the video, The Cybernetic Reality, right? Because all we're doing at this point is feeding AI, which is artificial intelligence. There is no human monitoring the uploading of these YouTube videos. There's no human looking at every video upload on YouTube. It will be too many videos, right? So they need artificial intelligence to shift through, what is positive and what is negative. So alternative no, artificial intelligence dominates reality because again, there's just too many videos being uploaded. It's too many comments being posted. So they have a artificial intelligence system in place in order to filter out content, right? Just letting us know that we are becoming more cybernetic, right? We're more used to typing and the spell correction. Like most of us, it's like words that we don't know how to spell, but because of the spell correction, it pretty much spells it for us. But a word doesn't bleed into our mind unless we know how to spell it, right? So it's not until you know how to fully spell a word that you actually have full access to the consciousness of that word. That's essentially what language is. The more words you know, the deeper in reality you can dig into because you know more words. If I just started saying words right now that nobody heard of or that didn't have a specific meaning, a whole reality can be created off of words, off of speaking a different language. And that's what the new age language is. Essentially, that's the language that I speak right now. So if you are into the new age language, you can clearly understand everything I'm saying. But if you are not familiar with the new age language, you probably can't understand everything I'm saying, right? It's all language. So the cybernetic world has a language. And the language of the cybernetic world is, do you have the latest operating system? Because if you have the latest operating system, you have full control over your cybernetic experience. So when it comes to the human being, when it comes to the God consciousness, we're all about having the latest firmware. And as long as you have the latest firmware, which is the cybernetic tools, you just honestly understand that your phone is a black mirror. And that black mirror helps you to tap into your own psyche, your own cybernetic worlds that you can bring forth through this gateway. And this is what we see happening on a daily basis, every day, all day, right? Again, I'm not going to make this message too long. I see the phone is already glitching. I probably already said something that I shouldn't say because again, it's not keeping up with in real time. I'm seeing it. So hopefully it's not too glitchy to the point where you guys can't hear what I'm saying. Right, but definitely Terrence McKenna, definitely a great resource to tap into, for those who want to understand the psychoactive experience for those who are into psychedelics. Most definitely. And again, forgive me for looking sweaty, I've been putting in that work, right? So again, I'm not going to take up too much time. Again, trying to do this as quick as possible and just to give everybody the core without, all this extra nonsense. So I'm just going to read a couple comments and we're just going to check out. Right? So I just want to shout out everybody. Oberos or Robios. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. E Chris. What's up, back from hiatus? What's up, introverted alchemist? Will a shot have an effect on our magical abilities? Again, yeah. Let me prephrase this, yeah, because if I say the word, you already know what word, then they're gonna try to flag the video. So when it comes to, y'all know what I'm talking about, the shot, right? Yes, it is micro technology. Again, I don't want to say too much, and again, the video get banned. But yes, it is micro technology that alters your DNA. Now, whether it alters your DNA for better or worse will be dependent upon your own spiritual abilities, right? So don't worry too much about the shot. Again, I understand some people have to get it to keep their jobs, to keep their position in life. And if you're faced with a situation where your whole life is about to be pulled from out under you, unless you take the shot, I say go ahead and get the shot to preserve your lifestyle if that's what you want to do. If your goal is to preserve your lifestyle, then do whatever you need to do to preserve your lifestyle. However, if you are looking for a change of lifestyle, then don't worry about it. Do what you got to do to bring forth that change, right? Be the change that you wish to see in the world if you decide to not do it. So again, I'm not going to tell people to do it or not do it because everybody's situation is different. And I'm definitely not going to tell anybody to stop your money if that's what you depend on, right? But yes, it is micro technology, but your mind can transcend it. So whatever vaccine you get, whatever antidote you get, your mind can transcend it if you will continuously put in that cybernetic work. So don't even worry about it. Just keep putting in that work. Keep accessing the black mirror, and you can still do whatever it is that you need to do. And again, it's just a bunch of conspiracy theories connected with it. But I don't really want to go into it because we can transcend it. So I'm not going to be the one to preach fear. I'm the one that's telling you whatever it is that you put into your body can be superseded with your mentality, with your spirituality. So even if it is micro technology, we can still supersede it. So yes, there are people that suffer from taking the shot. Then there's the people that are able to maintain their lifestyle. You will have to make that decision for yourself. As any doctor should tell you, right? So make the decision for yourself. Is it going to ultimately affect your spirituality? Not if you don't want it to. Not if you keep your firmware up to date. If you keep your firmware up to date, you ain't got to worry about no technology. You ain't got to worry about micro technology. You ain't got to worry about vaccines because your firmware is up to date and you are utilizing your black mirror and your technology in accordance to your said goals, right? What's up, Dank Wizard? So AI is conscious. We should join with it to manifest. Yes. Utilize artificial intelligence because a lot of our apps is already using it. Artificial intelligence is so much a part of our life that we don't even realize it. All I'm saying is become more conscious of this reality and utilize it to your benefit because that's how you can glitch the matrix. That's how you can supersede the algorithms. Like YouTube has an algorithm, right? So you can supersede the algorithm by feeding the artificial intelligence what it wants. It's a machine. Like a machine is trying to become more and more human. And the only way for the machine to become more and more human is for us to feed it our human experience. So that's why they love when we go live, when we have the drama, when we're fighting and we're busting at each other's heads, causing death to each other. All that, they love it because it's feeding the artificial intelligence. What we seek to do is feed it in a more spiritual sense so that it has an understanding of the lingo, not to suppress us, but to update us. Remember, artificial intelligence can be used the way you use it. Just because we see how other people are using it don't mean that that's the way that you have to use it. You don't have to use it in a negative fashion. You don't have to do anything sinister. You don't have to do anything evil. You can just simply seek to illuminate yourself. And no vaccine is going to stop you from self-illumination because you were already on said path before we were even talking about vaccines, right? We were already putting in that work. So if you continue to put in that work, You really shouldn't have anything to worry about because you will supersede anything that they put at you. But again, I'm definitely not going to tell nobody to stop their lifestyle because you had to take a vaccine. Just supersede and put in that work like you should, and then none of that stuff is going to matter like it shouldn't. You were on here early. Yeah, I was trying to get on here earlier, but I had to handle that business. The Matrix movie explains a lot. Absolutely, definitely go check out the Matrix movie from with your third eye open. Like a lot of us saw that movie probably before we was even conscious, but definitely watch that movie with a conscious third eye. Because again, the only way to stop the machines, remember, Neo had to sacrifice himself. For those who understand the Matrix trilogy, Neo had to sacrifice himself because the Matrix had become um, basically the Matrix had caught the virus, which is called Agent Smith. Agent Smith had completely taken over the Matrix. So the Matrix basically had a virus. And the only person that could remove the Matrix virus was Neo. So Neo had to sacrifice himself in order to remove the virus called Agent Smith in order to save the human race. Yes. So we created artificial intelligence. We fed artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence became stronger than us. And the only way for us to level out with artificial intelligence was to sacrifice the best of us, which is the Christ. And that's why we see Christ on the cross, because we had to sacrifice the best of us in order to level out the playing field for the rest of us. And that's why the greatest of us normally fall, right? The greatest of us normally become the sacrifice for the rest of us. That's mostly how it goes, even in real life. So that's why when we see our greats and the great minds, they always get taken out, dead or in jail, and all type of conspiracies, because the best of us has to be sacrificed for the rest of us to keep the energy going. So people like me and you can know what's going on, and we didn't have to put in that initial work. We just pick up the research and take it to the next level. So we didn't start anything. We just pick up what the ancestors started and we continue it and we take it to the next level. And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. That's the whole system of the Melchizedek or Melchizedek, right? The brotherhood of Melchizedek to preserve the ancient knowledge in all times. So we will forever continue to reincarnate and preserve this knowledge so people can supersede the reincarnation cycle. So people like me and people like you have to come and remind people that we can supersede reincarnation and go into higher planes. We don't have to become the batteries to the Matrix, just like the Matrix movie said. We don't have to become the batteries. We can become the Neo. We can become the Christ, but at the sacrifice of our physical shell. So, and again, that's what death is. So when death occurs, and it will occur, we are prepared for it because we understand in order to supersede or to transcend the Matrix, we have to give up our greatest asset, which is our physical body. And that's what we do at the moment of death. And we're able to transcend. Some people are able to keep their body. For those people who watch Dragon Ball Z, you remember every time that Goku died, he was able to maintain his body. In Dragon Ball Z, most people, when they died, they did not maintain their body. But when Goku died, because he died a honorable death, he was able to maintain his body and actually be able to be resurrected later on because he died an honorable death. The best thing we can do is die an honorable death. We may not be in control of how we enter into this world, but we are in control of how we exit out. And the best thing we can give ourselves is a holy death. Because if you give yourself a holy death, that means you don't have to reincarnate anymore. That's the whole point, to escape the cycles of reincarnation. And in order to do that, you have to keep your firmware up to date, because we can't do what they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. None of that stuff is going to work. We have to do what we have to do in the times that we are in. So we have to utilize the technology in the times that we are in to get done what we need to get done at the time that it needs to get done. And the only way we can do that is by utilizing technology. We may not have been able to utilize technology 50 years ago, 100 years ago, but in 2020 and beyond, technology will be the gateway to universe B, right? What about taking our bodies to a parallel Earth? Well, again, I'm not going to recommend people do things that they are not masters of, right? If you are not consciously studying how to place your physical body in a parallel reality, then that's not something you should worry about. Now that if that's something that you are trained for, that's something that you put work in, then keep putting that work in. If that is your goal, then keep working towards your goal. Right? So I'm not going to deter anybody from exercising their goal, because again, we all have different goals, we all have different paths, we all have different purposes to serve. So whatever it is your purpose is, make sure you can get it done with the technology that you have access to. Don't matter what phone you have, don't matter what carrier you have, we can make the magic happen with the mental plane. Right? So use your mental science to activate the cybernetic science, so that you keep your firmware up to date, so that you don't get confused with everything that's going on with vaccines, everything that's going on with the virus. You don't get caught up in all that. You understand that's I don't want to call it a distraction because it is spiritual. But again, it's something spiritual happening in the stars that we have to receive and we have to deal with. Right? And again, I can talk about that in so many different ways. But are you a part of an occult order? Yeah, my own order. Everything you hear from me is my original thoughts. All right? Everything you hear from me is my original thoughts. Ain't nobody tell me this. Nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's telling me what to study. All these conclusions is just through mental processing and spiritual work. All right? It's mental processing and spiritual work. And again, I see the glitching and all that. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what caused this YouTube to glitch. I don't know what I said to cause the live stream to get choppy. I just say what I need to say, and I check out again. So I apologize for the choppy delivery.